Hey, what is up everybody? This is your host for the Raw Review, and this is Armin. Now, you're probably wondering if you were here from earlier, what happened to the big co-op review? And then we're actually going to try to do that in a little bit of a different format and leave this one to me to review it, not a couple of days after, to try to get on it while it's still in people's minds and before SmackDown. But we will still keep a conversation in case, big things happen. We want to make predictions and things like that. So right there on the screen, you're of course going to see where you can follow me. And now let's get into talking about the Monday Night Raw for January 4th, 2016. So getting into this Raw, I felt a little bit disappointed right off the bat because it took us 8 minutes to actually see anything that wasn't a recap from previous week, and we were treated to Stephanie McMahon trying to make her way down to the ring while she was cut off by Roman Reigns. And this of course was to hype up the main event, which would see Roman defending his title against Sheamus with Vince McMahon as the special guest referee. Now, as I review these, you guys are going to notice that I might skip over a few parts, and it's not because I'm choosing to do it intentionally or forgetting. It's because these parts just kind of don't warrant mentioning to me. I mean, there's a lot of parts of the show that just kind of like fall flat, and I think there's no really big reason to talk about those. So the opening promo, while it did last, only a few minutes, I thought it was pretty good. It did its purpose. It got Roman over, which leads us to the first match, which gave us Kevin Owens taking on Neville. Now, I am a huge fan of Neville and Kevin Owens. I think these guys are absolute magic when they work together. Unfortunately, there seems to be this pattern where we don't really get a prolonged match. We get these quicker matches, like usually 5 to 6 minutes or an interference, which is kind of disappointing to me. I think both of the guys can go, and they were definitely playing up the Neville is injured ribs and chest from last week. Unfortunately, they seem to forget that, as he was doing some of those, sick bumps. He did a really good 450 off the apron to the outside. You could tell, they were both feeling that pain, because when he does those, he hits a really, hard impact on that. Of course, it ended with Kevin Owens winning and getting the pin, which honestly I'm okay with. I think both of these guys back and forth can do a good match, and I think definitely at one of these upcoming pay-per-views, they're going to be allowed to go a nice 15 minutes, and we're going to see something, that's totally worthy of Match of the Year contender. So overall, I was really satisfied with this one. But then after the match, this is where it spices up. We actually had Ambrose, who was on the color commentator for this match. Him and Kevin Owens actually get into an altercation. A table was broken right here in the opening match of Raw, so that was kind of pretty crazy. I didn't expect that. I expected that to be saved for the main event or something like that. These two definitely have a good rivalry going, and I think they're going to give us an amazing match as soon as we can get one. I think Dean Ambrose and him work really good together, and it seems to be building up to something way more than just a simple one-on-one match. I'm hoping maybe they could do a street fight or something like that, something a little more dirtier that these guys would fit in. But overall, it was a really entertaining battle, and I really can't wait to see where this rivalry goes. I will make quick mentions of a women's match, which Becky Lynch ended up winning, and she beat Charlotte with a count. Nothing on there. I'm really just kind of not interested in the Divas at this point. And there was Stardust versus Titus O'Neil, which felt like a useless match, so I'm gonna skip right over that too. So next up, we had two of my least favorite people in the WWE right now. We had Big Show versus Ryback. Now, Ryback, in this match, it was really just a slow match with both of these guys working. I don't understand why they keep pushing either of these guys to work against each other. Thank God the match was cut short by the Wyatt family. It was just a big brawl, big beatdown to put the guys over, and then Bray Wyatt kind of saying, he's going to do this and that, proclaiming that he's going to go to the Rumble and everybody's going to fall down. And, that was that. I think it did what it needed to, but it was definitely one of those matches that was just kind of cut short and I really had no interest in. And then we have Rusev and Alberto Del Rio versus the Usos. Now, I'm a fan of Alberto Del Rio and Rusev's team, the whole League of Nations. I like them. I'm not the biggest fan of Alberto Del Rio. I do really like Rusev. I think he's great. I love his character and what he's doing with it. He's just fully hamming it up and chewing up all the scenery when he's given the chance. So I like to see him out there. It was a pretty decent match with both of the teams working each other. They did their typical spots and everything like that. I think I saw at least 1 or 2 botches on Alberto Del Rio's part, or at least misses on cues, which was kind of unfortunate since it was a very solid match. And when you see something like that in a solid match, it kind of takes you away from it. But the League of Nations did end up getting the victory, which was kind of no surprise here. I mean, if there's a rivalry that you're trying to build and then the good guys win, technically it means that the rivalry should be over. So I was glad to see that the League of Nations pulled off another victory. And then we had the first big shock of the night where Heath Slater actually got to get on Raw and have a match versus Dolph Ziggler. Now, this was cut short because we have a new stable that formed, the Social Outcasters. I was saying on Twitter, the Job Squad 2.0 2016 edition. And honestly, I like this. I really am excited for this. I'm a huge fan of Bo Dallas. I think he's just entertaining as hell, and he clearly has wrestling skills. Heath Slater, you take him or leave him, doesn't really matter what you think of him. Then there was Curtis Axel, which, great, and Rose. I think all these guys can honestly work really good if given a chance, and I think this is going to be a good, stable for them to kind of come out and have these smaller guys really support each other and remind us that they do exist and that they're not, dead or gone anywhere. So overall, I'm really entertained by this. I can't wait to see what they actually do with these guys. And, they'll probably be on SmackDown a little more. But, hey, I might tune into SmackDown now, so I don't know. So then we had the New Day come out, and their promo was cut short with the return of Chris Jericho. Now, this was pretty awesome. Unfortunately, it was spoiled for me when I saw it online, so it was like, oh, Jericho backstage, so that sucks. I would have liked it to be a surprise, and he announces that he's going to be in the Rumble, so this means they're probably going to work Jericho into the next, couple months and hopefully build him up to WrestleMania, and that's great. I love him when he comes back and he can do his thing. It's just like a special treat. We get to see him every year, just like Undertaker, so I'm all up for this, and which led to the New Day versus Kalisto and the Dudley Boys. Honestly, a pretty good back and forth match. This was a really entertaining one. I mean, these six guys really know how to work together. A lot of good back and forth, a lot of quick tags. The desperation tag made to Devon, Big E absolutely destroying Kalisto. This was a really entertaining match, and the New Day ended up winning, which I have no problems with because I love the New Day. So, and then we arrive at the main event, which did see Roman versus Sheamus, and Vince McMahon, of course, as the ref. And this played out how you expect it to play out. We've seen this time and time again. Vince McMahon is favoring his guy. He turns away when there's something illegal happening. But this was actually a really good, really entertaining Raw. Along with this match actually making it good. Both of the guys seem to definitely be getting into a rhythm where they know each other's cues and work. They know how they're going to hit the moves. There was a few missteps where you actually saw, I almost thought Sheamus was going to be out for a while. They did this weird drop on the ropes near the turnbuckle, and if Sheamus would have been 3 inches off, his neck would have just caught on those ropes and would have been gruesome. At one point, Roman got a really stiff kick to the face, and I mean, it was really stiff that he actually looked like he was having trouble getting up. It was a nasty kick. My wife and I were just kind of looking at the work, what happened here? It did go the way you expect it to with these matches. Vince McMahon ends up getting knocked out. Another ref comes in. It's okay. Another ref comes in and ends up giving him the victory. And then the big shock for the night happens. After Roman wins the match and retains the title, Vince McMahon gets on the mic and he announces, you are going to be defending that title in the Royal Rumble match itself. Which, this is pretty damn huge, but I kind of feel like I know what they're doing. It feels like they're going to put Roman in as number one, which is why Big Show had to, retract. He's going to enter in at number one. So Roman enters at number one. He'll outlast everybody and still win so they can have him, pushed more, break a bunch of records and all that. And that feels rather cheap and forced. Not that I have the biggest problem with Reigns. I don't. I think he's decent enough, and he's gotten way the hell better since he was in this position last year, trying to be pushed to the main event too early. But my problem lies in the predictability and what we think we know is going to happen and what we're expecting. So that's kind of unfortunate. But overall, this was a very entertaining Raw. This is probably the best Raw they've had in a long, long time. Usually, the Raw after WrestleMania is pretty much the most important one, and that's the most riled up one. The crowd is really into it because that's the most hardcore fans. This felt like one of those. I mean, there was a lot of good matches, a lot of good development. They were putting together new stables. It really seems like they came out here and said, listen, it's a new year and we're going to begin in a new way and we're going to be refreshing. And that's what I honestly felt like. So to me, this was a pretty good Raw. If I had to give it a number, I would go with a 7.5, maybe even an 8 on a good day for how good this was compared to what we've had before. Now, obviously, when I give it almost an 8, don't freak out on me because I'm comparing it to what it's been recently. If I'm going to compare this to the Ruthless Aggression Raw, this would be like a 4. But we're not in that age anymore, so I do kind of have to take that second to kind of explain where I'm coming from with that score. So compared to what we've been getting, this was good, and I really can't wait to see where they go. Next week, we're going to have Brock Lesnar returning, so I'll be back with that review. So thank you for joining me, guys. Make sure you subscribe to Scoop Slam. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, wherever the hell you're Commodore 64. I don't know. We're probably everywhere. You can follow me on Instagram. I talk about wrestling, all the crap I buy. And usually on Twitter, all I talk about is wrestling or bitch about things. But mostly wrestling and bitching about Raw, so they kind of go together.